Welcome to Pathetic the Podcast. We are coming to you here with Geoff and Mikey C. Teddy is off in the land of Mickey and Minnie, enjoying himself, probably running himself ragged with all the kids and grandkids around. Probably going to need to sell some ads on this podcast to cover all the expenses, but we wish him well, and we will see him back here next week. But I am joined by my colleague Geoff. Geoff, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Football, you can smell it in the air. It's coming. I was telling you before the show, Mike, as much as I love the Yankees, as much as I love baseball, I'm ready. I'm ready for Sundays with my disgusting North Carolina pizza, sitting down watching football. So let's get rocking and rolling. I'm ready.
I mean, at that point, you might as well just get Domino's because that's going to be the exact same thing no matter where you get it. So,
Dude, there's a running joke. There's a running joke down here. You know what the best pizzeria is down here? Papa John's.
yeah,
That's number one.
Domino's. That's make it sound fancy.
Yep, that's right.
So we're coming to you. We will touch a little bit on football. We definitely will get to that. I want to first, though, touch on the baseball. The Yankees have righted the ship here. They have swept St. Louis. They beat the tar off of the Rays last night with 9 home runs. I hope you guys saw the clip I put up of the Bugs Bunny conga line on Facebook. So check that out if you haven't seen that clip. All-time great cartoon clip. But they're gearing themselves up. If they win tonight, there'll be 3 games out in the loss column. They're playing the Red Sox this weekend, 4 straight games. I think you're clear of them already. I think you're going to see us do some things over the weekend and separate ourselves from Boston. But I'm excited about this team. I'm ready for the October baseball to get started because I think we've figured it out that we're going to make the playoffs. We're going to be hopefully a division winner, maybe a wild card team. But I'm excited for what is going to come here in the next month and then right into October. So, Geoff, what are we thinking?
It's amazing how fickle we are as baseball fans because last week I was basically writing the Yankees off, saying, oh, they're not making the playoffs. They stink. They're horrible. And I broke my own rule because, on prior shows, I've said, you got to let the season play out. 1 week in baseball is huge. And I was telling you, Mike, off the show, I'm surprised they're only 4.5 games behind Toronto right now, which was shocking to me because it feels like they're 10 games behind. So the Yankees are still in this. And if they can do what they did last night, they're not going to do it every night, but just that kind of baseball, they got to rely on the home run. That's what they do. Just feed into it. You know what I mean? That's who the Yankees are. But last night was fantastic against first place team, right? The Rays. 9 home runs. Rodon was good. 6 innings, 2 earned runs. That's, it's either that or it's a disaster. It's one of the two. And, listen, a sweep of this team would be stellar. But I'm feeling the Yankees turning something on. I really am. You feel the tide turning. I think baseball is that sport where you can feel the momentum more than you can in any other sport. It's not like football where it's week by week. There's such a long lag between the games. With baseball, you can feel it. And with the Yankees right now, listen, next week we might be saying something completely different. We probably will.
Right.
But they can do what they did last night and do their thing. I hope they can continue it and make the playoffs and do this kind of damage.
Yeah, all it's going to take is losing 3 out of 4 to Boston over the weekend, and we'll be right back here on Tuesday or Wednesday next week saying this team is done, we're terrible,
Yep.
et cetera, et cetera. So I'm excited for this series. It's going to be a nice weekend. It's the last real weekend before football really gets into gear. There's a couple college football games, but nothing really crazy. I think there's a game in Dublin Saturday, but football really starts next weekend when Labor Day weekend, when college football really gets going, and you're really done with preseason, and now you can really start to ramp up for the first NFL Sunday. We actually got the email today at work that you can wear your football jerseys on Friday. That's how you really know that football is back, when you can start to wear the jerseys on a Friday in the office. So
I work from home, but I will be wearing my jersey working from home. I don't know. It's going to be a little weird, I guess, but I'm definitely doing it. I don't care how people look at me. We do our Zooms too during work, so I'll be having my You know what? I got a Kayvon Thibodeau jersey. Actually, I might have to break out, Mike. I might have to break out my lucky jersey, the LT throwback. That's only for the playoffs, though. That's usually
Yep.
reserved, but I think I got to do it. I can't
Yep.
wear the Thibodeau jersey.
Yep. We'll touch briefly on the Mets here too before we can really get into football. I think they have an opportunity here. You have the Phillies with a couple of injuries. You have the closer who is banged up. You have Zach Wheeler who's probably done for the year now. So Phillies are in a little bit of trouble, I think. So if the Mets can somehow put together a nice streak like they've done in the past uh, month or so, you could probably see yourself getting back into this race, which is always fun. I love seeing a nice division race because I think they play the Phillies down the stretch too. To get those games against the other team right down the stretch is always must see baseball at this late September or early October. So
Yeah, the Mets have a tougher schedule than the Yankees do upcoming, to close out the season. But, look, the Mets have talent. They're very similar to the Yankees. And if you look at their season, right, the Yankees and the Mets, they've run congruently. I mean, they really have. Like, they've had cold spells at the same time, and they've been hot at the same time, right? But the schedule is not the easiest. It's not a cakewalk home, as opposed to the Yankees, who, again, we've seen them get swept by bad teams, but they have a much easier schedule. But the Mets, again, just like the Yankees, they have the talent. Brett Beatty has been phenomenal. Hit another home run tonight. If he can do that, if Soto, I know he's not having the best year as far as runners in scoring position, but the guy's having a hell of a year. But I am concerned about the pitching with the Mets. I think, especially if they make the playoffs, which I think they will, I just don't think that pitching is going to hold up in playoff baseball. I just
yeah,
don't. You need to have your starters really, really eat up innings in the playoffs specifically. And the Mets they don't do that. I know Peterson, I think he threw 8 innings, which was good to see for the Met fan. But if you're looking at it through, the whole playoffs, is that going to be, something you can sustain? I have my questions, but just get to the dance floor, Mike. That's what I
yep,
always say about every sport. Just get
that's
there.
it. Get to October, get hot at the right time. If you all it takes is a 10-game winning streak and you're winning, you're holding up the commissioner's trophy.
Yep.
So, you win 10 out of 15 games, you're gonna get there. So, I agree with you on the pitching for the Mets. You have to have one or two things in the playoffs. You need to have really great starting pitching, or you have to have a bullpen that will knock everybody's socks off and have 19 guys who could throw hard and get guys out and strike out a bunch of guys when you need them to. And the Mets don't have either of those two things.
Yep.
And the Yankees have it in some spades, but I'm concerned with Max Fried. I think his innings is catching up to almost where he is at his most innings he's ever pitched in a season. So, and you can kind of see he's definitely kind of hit a wall a little bit when it comes to the second half of the season. Even before the All-Star break, he started to get um, a little less, effective as he was at the beginning of the season. We thought he was going to be in the conversation for a Cy Young. So,
Yeah. I'm concerned about Freed because it's been longer than I thought it would be as far as his, slump, his rut, whatever you want to call it. But the one thing about Freed that I have a lot of confidence in is his ability to show up in a big spot. And he's had a few games here where he just completely, whatted the bed.
yep,
But in a big spot, I still trust him. And Rodon on the converse, who I like, I don't trust him in a big spot. I just don't. He can have one of these days, right?
yep.
But with Freed, even though it's been rough. It's been a rough watch. In a big spot in the playoffs, I think his mind resets, right? That's what the greats do. They look at it as a brand new season, almost like game one, right? So I'm concerned about Freed right now just to get to the playoffs. You're wondering, is he still nursing his injury? I don't know. I don't know what it is. He's probably arm tired, Mike, as you mentioned it. He's had the most innings he's thrown ever. That's probably what it is. So, look, I think Freed's going to be fine when it comes time. But, like they say, the proof is in the pudding. Time will tell.
Yeah, he's had 150 innings so far. All of
Yeah.
last season, he had 174 innings. So he's probably going to be up there when it comes to innings at this point, and a lot of that was front loaded. I think over the last while he had the little stint on the injured list with the blister. He had a little bit of time where they spaced out his starts quite a bit at coming out of the All-Star break. So most of those innings were in the first half of the season. So I definitely think he's probably hitting a little bit of a wall. But once you get yourself locked into whatever playoff spot you're going to be in, let these guys rest, let them recoup, and let's get ready for, a couple of series. Because I was watching the other day, they had on Instagram the highlights from the Cleveland series last year, and I got to tell you that's like porn to me. It was such a
It was so
amazing
great.
thing where you're hitting Stanton hitting these home runs, Judge hitting the home runs, Soto hitting the home runs. Like I just want that feeling back where you're just like so jacked up because there's nothing better than postseason baseball. I think the postseason games in baseball are the best postseason games of all. I think sometimes you get some kind of duds in football, especially in the early rounds of the playoffs, and sometimes even the Super Bowl's a dud. You get a team that makes a run and they get blown out. Most of the games are not competitive.
Yep.
If you look historically, and basketball and hockey's fun if it's a game 7, but every pitch in baseball is so big. It just is the best postseason out of all the sports.
There's something about the sport being slow, quote unquote slow, in high pressure situations that makes it more exciting, right? And I think it's also the heightened elevation of the crowd in playoff baseball in comparison to the regular season. I think that adds some juice to it too. Like the crowd, I mean, most stadiums, at least, most teams, the crowds are insane during
Yep.
playoff baseball, especially the Yankees and the Mets. The
Oh
Mets,
yeah.
maybe the Mets the craziest. I mean, they come out during the playoffs. So I agree with you, Mike, and I think that was actually on my top 5. I think one of them, like favorite sporting events, one of the ones we did. Game 7 of a playoff baseball series was in that
Yep.
list. I think it was number 3 or 4. I love playoff baseball, even if my team, even though we're always in it, right? Knock on wood.
Right.
Even if they're not in it, like if it's a good series, I'm interested in. I'm watching it, so I'm excited, man. I can't wait.
Yeah. But before we get to playoff baseball, we have NFL football starting. As
Yes.
we talked before, I am ready to go. I've watched enough preseason football. I am not one. We're not going to be one of these people here who's going to sit here and analyze every drive and every throw that these guys do in the preseason. I'm going to sit here and say I just want them to get their reps in. I don't want anybody to get hurt. It's just like spring training baseball. I want the pitchers to get their arms loose and ready to go. I want the hitters to get their swings in, and I want to get to the real deal. I'm not going to care about what somebody's stat line is in a preseason game. And I'm not just saying that because Justin Fields went 1 for 5, because we were singing his praises after the first week against the Packers,
Yeah.
and last week he's terrible, and all of a sudden it's the same old Jets. So I don't want to hear anything about how it was. I'll give credit to the Giants' defensive line because I think they had him running all over the place during that game, minus the chop block to
Yeah. Come on.
Carter there. But we won't go
He's
into that.
he's got to zip it, all right, because he got knocked on his ass. Who cares? Listen, you don't think Lawrence Taylor, who's arguably the best player of all time, never got knocked on his ass? It's football.
Yep.
I feel like he came out and he's like, I forget the exact quote, but he basically called it a cheap shot. I think, right? That's kind of
Yep.
that's what I felt
Cheap
at least.
cheap shot, and then belt to ass about how they beat the Jets in the game, and that's
Yeah.
gonna be their only highlight for the whole season. And
I didn't love it. I didn't love it. And I'm like, listen, man, just say, listen, I would have had more respect if he's like, dude, I got knocked on my ass. What a hit that guy laid on me. Like, no, it's not embarrassing. It's
right.
football. Like, but I didn't love that. But I'm with you, Mike. I don't overhype the preseason. We talked about this before, but I did want to watch 2 things specifically for the Giants, and I'm going to watch it next week too if they play. I want to watch Jackson Dart because he's a rookie. I want to see what he is, just his reaction time, his comfort level. It's a little different than watching like Joe Burrow or even Justin Fields. Like we know what they are, right? There's no surprises with Dart. We really don't know. You know what I mean? And I want to watch Evan Neal as well. I want to see what he's going to do because he's a very important piece. Is he going to be the guy that we drafted. You know what I mean? And I want to see how he looks. And apparently he's looking really good in camp. And I thought he looked really good, albeit the preseason. But he looks like he lost weight. He's putting in the work. So I watch like certain aspects of the game. I watch players. Like I think I told you this last week on the show. I was only turning the game on the offensive drives that Jackson Dart was playing. I wanted to see him. But as far as like winning and losing, like I was like on my way to troll you guys. I'm like, I can't do this. I sound like an idiot. I
Right,
can't
because
troll. I can't do
those
that.
picks will be used against you in a court of law
That's right.
if and when things go south later on. So
Which we know they will.
correct. There's a reason
It's
why
coming.
this is pathetic. The podcast is because eventually what happens to all of our teams is
Now, did you have any concerns at all, like with the team that with the Jets? Just watching, like Fields, the offense, anything that you were like, ugh, that's got to get better.
I mean, obviously you'd love to see a little bit more rhythm in the offense and a little bit more ability for them to throw the ball at least a little bit down the field. I mean, Justin Fields, I think his longest throw in either preseason game was 9 yards. So you have Garrett Wilson there for a reason. I would think you'd want to use him for something other than a screen pass. I think you want him to go down the field, and that's going to open things up for the running backs too. Because if you're going to sit there and just throw the ball 5 yards down the field, everyone's just going to be crowding the line, and there's zero chance you're going to get anything done there. But I don't think anyone's showing their real offense. I think people are just running through plays to get the reps in and not get hurt. You don't want to throw a 40-yard pass in a preseason game and throw out your shoulder if you're not ready to be throwing that far yet. So, but obviously, it's preseason, like we just said before. It's not something that I'm concerned about. I think people need something to talk about. So, they're going to pile on the Jets. They're going to pile on Abdul Carter with the conversations he's having. They're going to just pile on for these narratives that are not there. And thank goodness that the Browns had some sense and put Joe Flacco as their starting quarterback. Because
I know.
I'm just ready to get the season started. I'm done with this preseason. I don't think anyone's playing next week. I hope no one's playing next week against the Eagles. But we'll get me to September 4th where we're starting the season. So
yeah, and listen, I think with like the Giants, right? Just as a Giant fan, like my expectations. It's a weird year for the Giants, right? Because I feel like they have the talent. Excuse me. They have the talent to be good. But the problem with the Giants is they can be 60% better, but still lose a bunch of games because of the schedule. I mean, this schedule, I know I talk about it ad nauseum. It's an absolute nightmare.
Yep.
And that's another reason why I don't want Dart even coming in like week 4 or 5. But there's 5 things, Mike, that I was thinking about today that I want to see from the Giants. And none of them involve winning. You're not going to see a certain record, a playoff win, none of that stuff on this list. Number 1 to me is competitive football. I want to see them compete, right? They're playing great teams pretty much every week. There's a couple of breaks, but those breaks are now must wins because now you're going to lose against the top teams. Now they got to beat these teams that they quote unquote should beat. So I want to see them just compete and be in these games. And number 2, I said this before, Evan Neal. I want to see him become the guy that we drafted. Even 70% of that or 50% of that. Just give me something to where he's a starter because we saw him in college. He was really good. He was an elite lineman. And then he came here and he's been one of the worst Giants of all time as far as where he got selected, right? So I want to see him play well. Number 3, I want to see Dable coach with guts. Okay, because the year he made the playoffs, he was aggressive. He took no nonsense. He didn't, he went for it on 4th and 1 consistently when, in a spot where you should. Now, I think a part of that has to do with the evolution or reverse evolution of Daniel Jones, how bad he became. He was afraid to use that weapon. But now he has Russell Wilson, who's looking good. So now I want to see him get back to the original Dable, the year 1 Dable. And number 4 and 5, real quick, Tyrone Tracy, our running back. I want to see him potentially be a top 10 running back in the league. I think that guy's a stud. And if you watch Giant games, you know he's good. And, it's asking a lot to be top 10, but if we can solidify that running back position for the future, I'd be thrilled. And then finally, my number 5, and this is the big one, I want to see this defense be elite. I want them to be a top 5 defense because I think they have the talent. If Abdul Carter is going to be the guy that we all think he's going to be, Dexter Lawrence is already the guy. Thibodeau, now he has openings because now the offensive line has a lot to worry about. And Brian Burns doing what I think he's a little overrated, but he's still very effective. So this defense, in my opinion, from a talent perspective, has the ability to be a top 5 defense. To me, that's going to build into next year where you now have the quarterback, right? Just play competitive. Just be in these games. You know what I mean? So again, with this list, not one of them involves winning. I don't care about winning or losing games. I just want to see an improvement in competitive football throughout the year.
Yeah, I hear you. And it's similar for the Jets. I want to see competitive football. I want to see the dumb penalties go away. I want to see these guys being held accountable for being professional football players, because the inmates have been running the asylum for the last 5 years. Even with Rex Ryan, they were running the asylum, and everyone else that's been there in the disaster that's been the last 15 years of Jet football. I just want this to be the guy, and it sounds like he is. Everything he's said has been what you want to hear from a coach. He is not giving you a soundbite. He has not said something that makes you question if he's really the guy. Even the questions about Fields in the game and about the offense not throwing the ball down the field, the responses he gave has been really refreshing. That he's not getting sucked into one of these gotcha questions from the reporters who are just waiting for a story. There's no story. There's nothing to say. So
right.
As long as the Jets can do that and be be in some of these games, their schedule's not crazy. I think you want them to at least get close to a playoff spot, because the Jets have not sniffed a playoff spot in a very long time. And I just want to root for my team in January. By January, I'm already looking at spring training. I'm looking at Rangers. I'm looking at Knicks. I'm looking at college basketball. I'm looking at everything else. I want to still be watching football in January and have it be my team that I'm rooting for, not my bets.
Yeah, I got a taste of it with the Daniel Jones or Dable year 1, and this is obviously post Eli, and then obviously with Eli against the Packers, the boat trip game. But real quick, a funny story about the Giants in the playoffs. So I was in Vegas when it was the Daniel Jones Dable playoff game, and I went. I forget what day it was, but we didn't know what day or time the game was. But I was flying back that Sunday, so I'm like, I hope the game is on. There was a Monday night game. I'm like, I hope they schedule it for Monday night. And it turns out the game is exactly when I'm flying back to Jersey. So I was going to miss the game. I'm like, I'm not watching this on a plane. There's no way. So you know what I did as a psycho fan? I canceled my flight, rebooked. So I canceled my flight and I booked the red eye to go home so I could watch the game. I'm like, this flight home is going to be either a disaster because I'm going to be pissed, or I'm going to be drinking on the plane and celebrating. And it turned out to be celebratory. But listen, when your team's playing in January, it's the best, man. It really is. It's like you look forward to it all. We look forward to the games all week. Imagine the playoffs.
Yep.
Right. And on the Jets, man, it's going to be interesting to see how this team is operated, right? Because they're going to be run first. We all know that. But you got Fields has to play well, because you can't just run the ball and you can't just run with Fields. He's going to have to, I'm not saying he has to be Tom Brady, but, he's got to be like a Kirk Cousins kind of, right? Where he's, maybe has some interceptions, but he's still effective and can still get the ball to where it needs to be. But, with Glenn, just to touch on your point, Mike, I agree. He has said nothing that inclines me to believe that he's not ready for this, that he's not the guy. Now, to be fair, and I like Glenn, but to be fair, I've seen this with Dable, where in the beginning, he's saying all the right things, right? Preseason, it's just like the players. There's not much to watch. When the heat is on, right? When the New York media is coming after him after a few bad losses, it's going to be interesting to see how he handles that, because Dable didn't handle it well. He was saying crazy stuff when they were losing. But with Glenn, the good news is he has a taste for this city already. He's played here, so I think he's expecting if they go into a losing rut, he'll kind of know how to navigate, around that. But I agree, Mike. I think with Glenn, you should be excited. I
Yep.
think number one is the no nonsense approach. It's his way or the highway, and the Jets needed that kick in the ass. They really did.
Yep. He's got a little Parcells in him, which I think both of us will agree is much needed in New York football. Is a little bit of that, no nonsense. This is what we're doing, and we're gonna impose our will on the other team, and we're gonna do it the right way. So, can't get here soon enough. We're gonna have 2 more shows before football season starts, but I wish it was tomorrow. I wish we could just skip the rest of this and go straight to week 1. So, so what we'll do now, we'll go straight to the picks. But before I get to the picks, please go and subscribe. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. Bottom right corner is our link tree. Patheticthepodcast at gmail.com for emails. Please, we will certainly read them, respond to them, think of some topics we want to talk about. What do you think of the Jets and Giants so far? Please like and subscribe. I will go ahead and kick it over to you, Geoff, for the recap of a UFC pick. Do we have any picks for this week or no?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask. Yeah, so if you watch the fight, now, granted, I was not the only one that fell victim of the Dreykus Duplessis disaster, but there's not much to talk about. If you watch the fight, you know what happened. It was a mauling. There's no other way to say it. Dreykus, who is a phenomenal fighter, and if this is the first time you watch him, you would think he never fought before, but it's just a testament to Khamzat. Khamzat is the best fighter in the UFC right now. I'm not going to say he's the best of all time. It's too early, but I don't see, and I know all the fighters, I don't see anybody beating this guy. Like every great fighter, there's always somebody that has a style that could beat him, and I kind of know who they are, and they'll give him a tough test. This guy's an animal. So we not only lost that bet, Mike, we got whooped, smoked. Yep. And after the second round, when that happened twice in a row, I knew it. I'm like, this is it. This is how the fight's going to go. And so
I thought maybe we had a shot at the end if he's going to hopefully knock him out, but that did not come to fruition. So.
It did not. But yeah, no picks this week. It's kind of a light card, and then we got one coming up, I think, in 2 weeks. I'll double check that, but we got a big card coming up in the next couple weeks. We'll have another one for you.
Absolutely. So we will try to get some winners for you. I will go over the Mikey Mush's picks. We went, for those who can't remember, Aussie Rules Football was our pick for last week. We had the Hawthorne Hawks minus 21.5. They ended up winning 92-56, so that's a cover. These scores are crazy, some of these numbers that you're going to see here. The Adeline Crows were 15.5-point favorites. They only won by 3, so we did lose that one. And the North Melbourne Kangaroos minus 9.5. They won 135-87, so they crushed the spread. So we pulled a Geoff. We went 2 out of 3. So we're always going to be that person. And for those of you who were looking at that 72.5-point spread for the Bulldogs, they won 126-32. So they covered comfortably the 72.5-point spread. I don't know how the scoring works in this thing. I was confused looking at it, but winning by 90-something points in any game, I don't care what the sport is, that's impressive.
Yeah, by the way, I love how 2 out of 3 now is referred to as pulling a Geoff.
Yes.
And I'm not mad because that's exactly what it is. I can't even, one of my favorite artists is Meatloaf. I can't even listen to 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad anymore. It's like, this is me. This song is basically about me. So,
yep, I hear you. I have a good Meatloaf story too that's not appropriate for the podcast. I'll share it for you afterward, Geoff. But I do have a good Meatloaf story as well. But when we look at the picks this week, we are going over to China. The Wuhan Open of snooker. So for those of you who don't know what snooker is, it's a variation of billiards, so pool. They're having the Wuhan Open this weekend. I think Sunday is when it's going on. We're going to take Ronnie O'Sullivan because that sounds like a guy who's probably pretty good at pool, Ronnie O'Sullivan. He is plus 550 to win the Wuhan Open. He is the fourth choice to win. So I will take Ronnie O'Sullivan to win the Wuhan Open. As soon as I saw it was Wuhan Open, I said, I don't care what the sport is, I'm picking this game.
Yeah.
So we'll take Ronnie O'Sullivan to win, and hopefully we can get back in the win column here for the Mikey Mush riders that are out there. So thanks for joining us. Geoff, any final thoughts here before we wrap up?
Yeah, Ronnie O'Sullivan. That sounds like a guy that spent a lot of time in bars in his day, and I'm sure
Correct.
there were a lot of pool tables there. I like that thought process, Mike. You know what? I might put a couple bucks on that too.
Yeah,
That's not a bad idea. Ronnie, he's got to be good at pool, right?
I know.
Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. That's like, and not to bring up, my boy, but like Jackson Dart. You have to be a good quarterback if your name is Dart. If your name is O'Sullivan, you got to be good at pool. So I like it.
Exactly. Well, thanks for joining. This was a lot of fun. Again, please like, subscribe, shoot us an email, give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Could always use more subscribers. We're really going to get this thing going when it gets to football season. So look out for Teddy coming back next week, and we'll catch everyone on the flip side. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, guys.